I got a comment from an audience member, and they said now, according to them, Xbox competes with Sega, EA, Ubisoft, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, Capcom, and more. They are publishers. It's a very interesting statement. And somehow I have to make a video, according to Arvons, talking about how this is how Xbox competes. This is because I think Arvons, you want to make it sound like being EA, Ubisoft, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, and Capcom are somehow a bad thing. Please note that these publishers, in some cases, are smoking both Xbox and PlayStation in their efforts. Their games land on their platforms and do better than their first party games overall. So if Xbox is in this category, you might be saying that their publishing business is actually successful. That might be what it is that you're maybe saying. I understand. It is one of those things where, the conversation is what does a publisher do? But being a publisher in a gaming industry, that means that you're probably one of the biggest software makers out here. Then you said this. You should make videos on how Xbox is owning these companies. I, okay, I should make videos, whatever. You said Xbox is now mainly a publisher. There's no reason to buy their console now that they're increasing prices, and all their games are launching on PC and PlayStation 5. Arvons, since 2016, all Xbox games have been launching on PC. On PS5, Arvons, you have to pony up every single cent that they ask of you to buy those games. This is the reason, and I'm going to have to say this is the reason why you're seeing PlayStation users in the PlayStation Plus category dissatisfied that there's something better on the Xbox ecosystem, somewhere where you claim, right now. Like, check it out. Remember this, Arvons, are you seeing this? Remember this? Let me bookmark this so that we have this on tap at any given time. You know what I mean? So if I'm making the videos, I have to point out, the pertaining and the prevalent, nuances over here. This opinion piece, which has now been graced with over 629 comments, which this used to be about 500 plus comments, says, is anyone extremely jealous between the difference in the quality of Game Pass and PlayStation Plus? At the end of the day, nobody sees this way anymore. This is all just fanboy bickering. And, Arvon, shout out to you. I know you like to present a contrary point of view, but when you present a contrary point of view, you have to understand that even on this thread here, there are PlayStation players who already own an Xbox device. I'm not talking about cloud or anything. Some of them say, yeah, you can get in via cloud or whatever, but some of them own an Xbox device and are enjoying Game Pass. You hear what I said? Because gamers don't care if you're a publisher or if you're a shoemaker, right? They just want to play games, if you get what I mean. They don't care if you're a janitor. They don't care if you're a freaking plumber. They don't care if you're actually somebody who works in welding or who is an airplane mechanic or an automotive mechanic. Do you have games? Gamers are going to come and play, right? So I could sit here back and forth and saying, you know what, PlayStation is a publisher, blah, 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 blah. We've already had that conversation. They're all publishers. They're all third-party publishers, including Nintendo to an extent that they publish 5 of their games or 4 of their games on mobile. But at the base level, gamers are patronizing them because either they have games and gamers want to play those games because they have the value that gamers want. For instance, this person added, and let me go ahead and read this again. This person said, I believe they're getting the new Doom game as well. Feels like us PS Plus players are getting effed over with what we're receiving in return for our subscription. Can you imagine that? Now, why would he say that? Are the gamers here on PlayStation Plus eating platform? Are they eating first party status? It's games that they desire. Recently, we got blueprints, according to this guy, which is great, but you know who else also got blueprints on release? Game Pass. Sorry for the rant, just frustrated with PS Plus recently. Cheerio. Arvons. You said you should. He said Nintendo and Sony are mainly platforms, but that's not what gamers apparently eat. That's not what gamers apparently play. We don't play platforms. We play the games that are on the platforms, right? So when we say, oh, PC or Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo, at the end of the day, once you transcend the, base level talking points, you got to realize that it is the games that are the priority at the end of the day. Steam is nothing without the games and the customer protection that it puts between you and those third party publishers, right? Good old games is nothing without the fact that it gives you, update later, it gives you options to being able to go ahead and buy these games and get offline installers. But it's the games, right? It's the games that are there that gives that particular possibility. And so, again, the rest of your comment, when you said they mainly publish to put exclusives on their platform so they can attract users to play in their platform. You pretend like a browser is not an Xbox platform as well. You see, this is why PlayStation said this. When their document leaked, they said Microsoft is building a gaming store to compete with Apple and Google. So Microsoft is competing with PlayStation in publishing, yes, because PlayStation is a publisher on their own platform. And so Microsoft has now ascended to the biggest publisher on their platform. They're competing with Apple and Google on the mobile store. They're competing possibly with the new Nintendo Switch 2. They're probably going to be competing against Nintendo on their platform with Minecraft. In fact, they've been doing it for years, right? And then they've expanded their platform past the traditional console. This is exactly what was seen here. Did you guys ever look at this? That even PlayStation, did y'all see this? I've never shown you guys this particular document here. That was at the end of this whole conversation. It's one right here that also leaked from PlayStation Strategic Pillars. Did you see what they want to do? They want to basically diversify their business portfolio. They also want to extend into multi-platform on mobile and PC, basically copying these guys over here that put their games on PC and are going to mobile. They understand that Microsoft can supply their games via different means, and them not having these different means that their own particular service is dated according to them and behind the competition. So if you're heralding this, they put games on their platform, it's old school and it's dead in the water for PlayStation. Nintendo themselves are going to have to deal with this particular market condition. In fact, I just made a video, it may come out very soon, where an audience member was about to trade their Xbox for their Xbox Series X for a Nintendo Switch. And then they realized, hold on, Expedition 33 is out here. And they were like, nah. They already bought it on Steam. They were like, nope, I'm going to refund that money back. And I'm going to go ahead and play Expedition 33 on Xbox because I don't get to spend a lot of money. Unlike the Nintendo Switch, I got to go spend $449. Then I got to go buy me $80 games, $70 games, whatever the heck that is that they're selling their games. It's not a business. It's not a value proposition that I think I want to go buy right now. And they stuck with their Xbox. You said otherwise they'll also put their games on other platforms to sell more. Makes sense? Well, I just showed you that PlayStation wants to put its games on other platforms. It says it right here. This is a PlayStation document. They want to go multi-platform. Yeah, it makes sense to me. You said publishers win mostly on sales of their own games. Xbox also wins on basically getting people to subscribe to Gamepass, just like Netflix is the biggest of all of them. You said platforms win mostly on sales of publishers paying fees on their platforms. For Sony, first-party sales are only 20% of their revenue, which is funny because you're talking about how they publish games to put their exclusives on the platform so that they can attract users, yet you're saying that their major point of making money is basically them, selling other people's games, and these so-called games that are moving people to their platforms are only 20% of their revenue. Now, let me ask you a question. If those games that they're using to bring people to their platform cannot compete against their, competitor, then what is the attraction factor then? Did you just see how you made a case for me? iPhones, I just recruited your argument. I'm asking you a question. If these 20% of their revenue of games or their first-party games that you claim are supposed to attract players to their platform cannot compete against the other who is actually providing those games on their platform while basically advertising that on the other side, Gamers got Ninja Gaiden 4, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, Ninja, whatever, all the Ninja Gaidens, and, gamers got all the Call of Duties basically at a small subscription fee. Then what's going to keep the PlayStation player? And why would the PlayStation Plus player not feel extremely jealous? Arvons, you got a PC, so you have all the platforms, so you don't necessarily feel this weight. But if you were in a position where you had one platform, you wouldn't be saying this. You won't be saying this. The Xbox does not compete with PlayStation anymore because they've beaten them into shreds. They basically taken the business model away from them and run with it. They bought their biggest game and walked away and said, go figure it out. And PlayStation is doesn't have IPs. Xbox, on the other hand, they got their own traditional IPs. They got Activision IPs. They got Bethesda IPs. And that's what's beating these guys. When they launch Elder Scrolls 6, yeah, that's a next-gen launch. I'm thinking, do you know what's going to happen? You said this is not a console one since Xbox left. Now Xbox is in the publishing business, and that's why. No. You're not saying it correctly. Xbox is now in the business of delivering what gamers want. The console business is not what gamers were going to eat anyways. That's why this person said on top of that, the price was just recently increased. Really contemplating whether I should renew this year or not. They're contemplating whether they should renew PlayStation Plus or not. This person then replied and said Ninja Gaiden Black 2 came out around that time and the new one is coming out later this year. What are gamers talking about? Xbox ain't competing with EA. EA doesn't bring out this kind of cadence in a year. EA is not sitting on this amount of IP. The one that I would say is probably closest is Ubisoft. But even they have basically traded in their status for, some kind of a short-term, posturing. And so now they're pretty much almost abandoned. Selling majority of their, big games into a different subsidiary to Tencent. That shows that their company is in financial trouble. They have not managed their assets very well and the assets of their shareholders. So at the end of the day, this is very interesting. This person said, I'm really hoping a lot of people cancel their subscriptions or at least go down to essentials so that Sony should learn that this is wrong. This person said, Game Pass was always better than PlayStation Plus. But the past 3 months, the difference is becoming much more apparent. Just this month, we have a lot of games leaving and less new games. Arvons, I recommend that you go find all the documents that leaked. Go find them. This is child's play. There's even one part of the document PlayStation is like, we don't have the money to do this. We don't have the money to be able to partner with a lot of these folk and acquire their games. So we have to do some interesting things like, sharing of revenue and all this other stuff. Whereas Xbox is literally opening up the bank account and saying, hey, what do you want for a day one Game Pass launch? And Wu Chang's coming, Arvons. Wu Chang's coming. This PlayStation Plus subreddit is about to have a riot. Arvons, I suggest that you go in there and you sign up and talk them down. Tell them, oh, this thing that you just told me, Arvons, just copy it from here and say this and just go from here, right? And paste it on that subreddit and just try to tell them, PlayStation now is a publisher and, PlayStation is a platform holder. So stay strong while you go play the games you want to play on PC while they can't. Go tell them. See how it goes. I'm just saying, man. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.